What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Nerdy Dating. I'm your host, Zakka, and what is Nerdy Dating? It's pretty much a dating relationship advice channel from a nerd that's in Kansas City, Missouri. On today's episode, we're going to review a bunch of Am I the Asshole from Reddit? And let's go and get this party started. So the first one. Am I the asshole for not letting my boyfriend watch his favorite TV show during our date night, even though it's related to a personal issue he's dealing with? My boyfriend, 25 male, and I, 24 female, have a weekly date night where we cook dinner and watch a movie or TV show. Recently, my boyfriend has been going through a tough time dealing with his anxiety, and he's been using his favorite TV show as a way to cope. Last Friday, I suggested that we watch a romantic movie instead of his show, but he insisted that we watch it because it helps him relax. However, I wasn't in the mood for it and wanted to watch something different. He got upset and revealed to me that the show was a comforting escape for him during his panic attacks and that he really needed it at the moment. I didn't know how to react because I didn't want to invalidate his feelings, but I also didn't want to give up our date night tradition. He accused me of being selfish and not understanding his mental health struggles, but I felt like he was using his personal issues to guilt me into watching something I wasn't interested in. Now, I'm torn between wanting to support him and needing our date nights to be enjoyable for the both of us. So Reddit, am I the asshole for not letting my boyfriend watch his favorite TV show during our date night, even though it's related to a personal issue he's dealing with? And this first one here, I'm going to say yes. Yes, you are. So here's the reason why. So your boyfriend's going through something, and this show helps him cope. Okay, instead of having the date night on Friday nights, maybe the show comes on Friday night. So instead of having the date night on Friday night, maybe move the date night to Saturday morning or Sunday morning or another day of the week. That way, Friday night, if he needs to watch the show at a particular time, he can do that. That helps him cope, help him with his anxiety. And hopefully this coping is not going to last, for another 5 years, whatever the case would be, or another 5 years is a long time, but it doesn't last for another year to 5 years. Maybe it only happens for a few more months or a few more weeks, and maybe as he's trying to figure it out, the show helps him soothe and relax, and then he goes to therapy. So this won't last forever, but saying that he's using this show to make you watch something, using his anxiety to make you watch something that you don't want to watch, it's not cool at all. Like, you can definitely just sit there and be there by his side and help him relax and watch the show with him. Maybe it's not something you're into. Maybe he's into watching a series like The Office and you're just not into that, or into watching Dragon Ball Z and you're just not into that. Watch it with him for this night, and maybe next week you can say, all right, let's watch another show, or let's watch another movie or something like that, or let's move the date night to, okay, tonight we're not gonna watch it because your show's on. Let's move the date night to Saturday night, and we can watch a movie that I want to watch this time. There's another way you can handle this besides saying that he's using his issues to force you to watch something you don't want to watch. So yes, you are the jerk in this situation, 100%. So you are. All right, next video, or sorry. Next question. Would I be the asshole for telling my sister's boyfriend the truth about why she's dating him? I, 17 male, have an older sister, 27, let's call her Mary. Parents had a rough divorce because of my dad cheating, and she was always protecting me from the realities of it all. And he goes a little bit more stuff about like how close he is to his sister. She found a boyfriend, let's call him Alex, when she was 25 and he was 27. And overall, he's a really cool guy. He's a doctor, so he makes a good amount of money and occasionally spoils me and my sister with gifts, fancy meals, the works. Even offered to help me pay for college if I wanted to go, even though I said I wanted to join the military. Long story short, Alex recently told me about potentially proposing and asking for my blessing, which was super cool of him to do. When I asked Mary how she would feel if he happened to propose, she didn't seem excited at all. If anything, she was like, oh, that would be cool. I asked her if she didn't want to get married yet, and she said she did, just not to him, which didn't make sense to me. He's an attractive dude, about 5'10", works out 5 days a week, and has hazel eyes. This person. He's a doctor with a stable job and hasn't cheated or done anything sus. As far as I know, he generally cares about her feelings, even has a routine for her period weeks. I'll date him if I swung that way, honestly. That's when she told me that she loves him as a person but wouldn't want to marry him because he is Asian. Korean American. I asked Mary why she didn't break up with him if she wasn't interested to begin with, and she said she wanted to be with him because he's a doctor, gives her expensive stuff, and asked her out first. Let me remind y'all, it's almost been 3 years of them dating. I told her she was a racist and was only with him to leech off his doctor's money, and she got offended. The whole "I'm not racist, I have friends" argument. I told Mary to either tell him the truth or I would. Now we're not speaking because she says her relationship is none of my business. I've been hanging out with Alex more, but I haven't told him about what Mary and I talked about. He asked me to go ring shopping in April so he can propose after I graduate in May because I'll be shipping out for boot camp in August. Would I be the asshole for telling him the truth? Don't want to see this guy get used and abused, but this is my one and only sister. Edit. Because this post is blowing up, I told my sister she had until the end of April to tell him the truth, and I told Alex that we could put off ring shopping until May after I graduate. Hopefully that gives her more time to think. Maybe I'll come back to this before I ship out in August. Edit 2. Some people are saying there's no way he's a doctor at 29 after a Google search. Yeah, I agree. Not gonna lie, I just assumed he was because med school and his age, so that's my fault. Turns out he's working part-time and has been since high school. Plus, family is full of doctors. Both parents are doctors. One brother is a plastic surgeon in Korea, and the other is still in high school but wants to be a foot doctor. Alright, so would he be the butthole if he told his sister's boyfriend that she's only dating him for money and dating him for the fact that, money pretty much. Money and the fact that he has a potential career coming up down the line. So this was the tricky one because he's also friends with Alex too. It's not his relationship to intervene. However, I would try to tell my sister, I would talk to my sister and have her try to tell the truth. Have her be the one to say, hey, this is not going to work out with us. They've been there for 3 years. She's not happy in a relationship with the person. And she doesn't, only reason she's with him for the money. And she'll find somebody else who can provide her money that she'll be attracted to as well. So it's not the end of the world. She can definitely find somebody else. So I would tell the sister to break up with him as soon as possible. You have to rip the Band-Aid off. You gotta do it because you can go through this marriage and then be, a year or two down the line and going through a divorce, and that'll be more expensive, more problems and heartaches after you spend all this money on the wedding and everything too. So save yourself the time and money. Just ended it with him. You say you don't want to be with him because he's Asian. Well, good news for you. There's other doctors out there of different colors and different races. So whatever your type is, go. You're going to find your flavor of ice cream out there. And with that being said, the reason why you're with him because he asked you first is not a good reason to be with somebody. So I will try to convince the sister to tell him and keep telling him and just remind her, break up with your boyfriend. You're not happy here. You don't want to marry him. Just break up with him. As far as Alex goes, the boyfriend, I would tell him wait before you propose. Just wait. Keep waiting. Do not do anything. Do not buy a ring. You know, I wouldn't say I heard that it might not be a good idea. I'll just try to like push him to not propose. That maybe it's not time yet. Maybe it's not not time to do it. So I would keep trying to push him away. But as far as the sister Mary goes, try to get her to break up with him. Not because, and she got to flip it to a way where she can see that she won't be happy in this. Not because it's stable, not because of commitment, not because it's a stable relationship, because her happiness matters more. You gotta look at it from your sister's point of view. You gotta flip it for your sister to see that her happiness matters more, and try to paint the picture out down the line and say like, okay, you continue with this path, you get married, you divorce in 2 years. What does your life look like? Are you happy? Or you can end it now, go find you another doctor, go find you somebody who, you know, if you want to go that route and date somebody for the money, you can do that, but somebody you're also attracted to, you can also do that too. There's doctors everywhere. So yeah, that's what I would tell her. In 3 years. That means she's not in the relationship, she's out. So that'd be my advice for them. But yeah, as far as what he's gonna do, the way he'll go about it would be wrong. I get it from from the right place, but it's also gonna be the wrong way to handle it. All right, we got another one here. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my sister, brother-in-law, and his friend after I was set up on a surprise blind date? I, 25 female, have never been interested in romantic relationships. It just doesn't appeal to me. I'm very busy with grad school and work, and I like being on my own. I have friends and a dog, and that's honestly enough. I'm happy with my life. My family thinks that this is weird beyond beliefs, and the pressure has ramped up now that even my younger brother has gotten married, and I'm the only one left on the shelf. My older sister's husband has been offering to set me up for years because I'm too hot to stay single. Oh God, whatever that means. I always try to refuse politely, but it's wearing thin. I was home visiting my parents this weekend. My sister invited me out to dinner at a new restaurant. It was an upscale place, so she said to wear something nice. I thought it was just going to be the three of us, but there was another guy in the car when they picked me up. He said he was brother-in-law's friend, Joe. Awkward, but not too unusual. We get to the restaurant and sit down, and Joe keeps trying to make conversation with my brother-in-law and my sister egging it on. And I finally joked, am I on a date or something? What's with all the questions? And my sister straight up said, yes, we thought you needed a little push, so we decided to set you two up. I asked Joe if he knew about this, and he admitted that brother-in-law told him he wanted to set him up on a blind date, but that he was glad he came, so I was the only one that didn't know it was a date. I was pretty mad, but didn't want to cause a scene in the restaurant, so I finished dinner and gave really short responses to questions. So your PhD program, yes. What's that like? Busy. And the evening just stayed really uncomfortable and awkward. Joe apologized in the car, and I told him it wasn't his fault, but he probably shouldn't let brother-in-law set him up again, and I wasn't interested in dating anyone. Apparently, he told brother-in-law off in the car about making him look bad so that he didn't even have a chance. My sister is mad because I was rude and embarrassed them when they were just trying to help out on my shell. Trying to help me out of my shell. My parents think I should have appreciated the gesture and given Joe a chance because you never know, and wants me to apologize. Am I the asshole for this? The way you handle it makes you kind of a jerk. But getting put on a blind date and being the only one who didn't know you was on a blind date, I think you have right to be upset because you're like, wait a minute, I already told you guys that I'm not looking for somebody. I think your family did cross the line by trying to force you to talk to somebody and force you to meet somebody and try to put put themselves in your dating life. Yes, because you didn't ask for help and you're not complaining to your family about your dating life to be like, oh, I'm so lonely, I'm so this and this, and nobody can make me, or I can't meet anybody, or there's not just good people out there. So you're not talking to your family about that. You literally just say you're not interested in a relationship at this point in time. You're busy. So at this point in time in your life, if you just cool with just hanging out with somebody, if you meet somebody along the way, but you realize it sounds like you're not looking for a relationship, you're not looking to date. So your family did cross the line doing that and putting you in a situation where you felt like, wait a minute, I'm on a blind date, I didn't know this. And they got a dude who thought he's going on a blind date as well, and he thought he's going to meet somebody and thought that she knew what the game plan was. And this girl, let's call this girl Sarah, didn't know what the game plan was, but Joe did thought she knew what the game plan was. So Joe's embarrassed because he thought we was actually on a date, that Sarah agreed to this, and Sarah didn't agree to this. So, but the way Sarah reacted and shutting all the conversation down, she shouldn't have done that. And then they try to say, well, we're trying to get you out of your shell. Sarah's like, I don't want to get out of my shell. I'm perfectly fine with who I am. I think the best way Sarah would have handled this was just play along, like as far as like being open, having a good conversation, and just talking to him, but to say, hey, I'm not looking for anything. I actually didn't know it was a blind date. I apologize. Well, not say I apologize. I didn't know it was a blind date. My sister and her brother-in-law set me up. So that's on them. And then Joe can go off like he did and say, wait, why would you do that to me? Bill, or Bill's brother-in-law, why would you set me up with your sister-in-law who's not looking for somebody? Therefore, you put me like out here looking for somebody and she's not. So the family shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't put you on a blind date. They should have came to you first and asked, hey, are you comfortable with a blind date? So for you to be put in that situation, yes, you're not the jerk for doing that. But as far as the way you reacted, it could be handled better. It could have been handled better. Instead of just being rude and cutting off, being short, everything, and making the night awkward, you could have just been like, hey, you know what? I can't leave, but I'm at least going to just enjoy everybody's company here. Treat this as me on the third wheel, and tell Joe like, hey, I'm not looking to date anybody. I didn't know it was a blind date, but I'm here just to hang out, eat, and probably go back home. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you for coming through with this, but I'm not here to date. And let Joe sit there with that, and then Joe react the way he did, versus you just being curt and just shutting down everything. I think was the wrong way to go about it. But you also understand you got put in a situation that you wasn't expecting, and your family should be the ones who are the bigger jerks in the situation, because they shouldn't have done it. Should have asked you first, asked for your permission before putting you on a blind date. Like you said, you're not looking forward to anything. I would express that to your family, like, hey, I am definitely not looking to date right now. Okay, I've got a lot going on, and I got time, so I'm not gonna rush. If y'all want, go find somebody else to date. Go find somebody else to invest in their date life. But for me, I'm good. So you're not the butthole for you put in a situation, but at the same time, the way the way your reaction was to handle, you get to somebody how to feel and express themselves, but as far as the way you handle the situation, as far as the way that you just shut it down, everything, make everything awkward, yes, that would put you in the gray area. But as far as what get put in a situation, yes, you're not the butthole for getting put in that situation. Your family your sister and brother-in-law should have been more ask you first, see you're okay with this before going through with that. Next one here, we got, am I the a-hole for confronting my ex-friend about secretly dating my childhood crush? All right, I, 22 years old, graduated college not too long ago, and was preparing to get my degree with my best friend, 22 male, who we can call Parker, Peter Parker, and my crush, who we'll call Jamie. Since grade 11, 23, to be clear, I met and become close with Peter Parker, my friend, my freshman year of college, in a lecture about movie physics. That seems cool. That we bonded over. I had known Jamie, I'm gonna call her Mary Jane, MJ, for longer, and all three of us became pretty close, forming a sort of friend group of four, including Parker's roommate, who we'll call Riley, Ben Riley. Look at this Spider-Man all coming together here. Although I saw Jamie as not only a friend, but a potential love interest, so I considered Peter, my best friend. So you saw MJ as a potential love interest and considered Peter Parker your best friend. After finishing our exams, I was absolutely overjoyed to finally graduate. I decided that life was too short to waste by keeping my feelings from my childhood crush hidden. A few days before graduation, I decided to tell Peter Parker that I was going to fully confess to MJ after years of waiting. Peter Parker was suspiciously quiet, only responding by staring at me and taking a sip of his drink. When I asked him why he was just staring at me, he shrugged it off before changing the topic to our friend group's camping trip to celebrate our graduation. I was a little suspicious about how he was acting, but I let it go. Our friend group had decided to get ready for graduation together, so we all met up at Parker's apartment. Riley was making lunch in the kitchen, asked me to go find MJ, and Parker, who I hadn't seen in a minute. As I was walking in the hallway, I heard something in Parker's room, and when I saw him kissing MJ, I didn't know how to react. I could only stare in shock. It felt like hours, and it felt like there was a painful lump in my throat. I think he might have heard me gasp, because he eventually stopped to look at me with an embarrassed look on his face. He nervously laughed before telling me that he and MJ were dating. I just disappointed at first, but I couldn't stop myself from asking how long. Peter Parker then revealed that they had been dating for 7 months. I was livid. Parker, you know for over 3 years about how I felt about MJ. I couldn't believe he would betray me like this. No! I'm not the most outspoken person, so I always nervous about telling MJ, which Peter Parker knew. So I couldn't believe that my best friend would steal my crush away from me. Not only this, but then would keep it a secret from me for so long. We got into a large screaming match where I said many things I regretted, such as calling him a cheating son of a bee, a treacherous bee, and undeserving of love. Before Peter Parker could try to lie his way out of this one and give me some flimsy excuse, I stormed off. He couldn't at least apologize for breaking my heart or done literally anything at all to try to make things better. So am I the asshole for freaking out on my friend? Reddit says he was. Look, he said he knew about this for over 3 years. Peter knew that, let's call this guy Norman Osborn. So Norman knew that Peter knew that Norman liked MJ for 3 years, but Norman never made the move. He never made the move, and we don't know who made the move first. We don't know if MJ approached Peter or Peter approached MJ. We don't know that happened, but they've been dating for 7 months. Is it fair to Peter Parker to tell Norman Osborn that, hey, I'm dating MJ? They're in the friend circle. Peter probably should have noticed it, to be honest. He probably should know something was up. Something didn't seem right. It's a little too close, a little together. They go off together a lot by themselves. Like, you can notice somebody's talking to each other without them actually telling you. And maybe he knew, and he was just like, oh, they're just going to the bathroom together. Or they're going here together. Or they're going here together. And he just ignored it. They've been dating for 7 months. 7 months is a long time to be in a friend group with a bunch of people and them not tell you what's going on. He found out, like, this is the first time he found out. I'm pretty sure he's seen things before where he just didn't ignore it. He's like, no, I'm so focused on my schoolwork and everything. We don't know how Peter and MJ got together, so we can't say that Peter was approached first or MJ was approached first, because she's friends with them too. So it is not slowly on Peter to be the one to tell Norman that, hey, we're dating each other, because MJ's also friends with you too. But you was talking to MJ as a chance to make her a potential partner. So Norman, if you would just told her up front that, hey, I have feelings for you, I'm just gonna get this out the way. I have feelings for you. Do you have feelings for me? And she said, no, you can be friends and then keep going. Or you can be like, yes, okay, let's try to make something happen here. Maybe Peter did the same thing. Maybe Peter had the same thing. Maybe y'all both was crushing the same girl. And Peter's like, he's like, I can't wait for Norman anymore. I'm gonna shoot my shot. Y'all in the same friend circle. One of y'all should have noticed. But for you to flip out on him, like, dude, you took the L, you waited too long, and to be upset, because everybody's single, and MJ could have said no, but apparently MJ liked the Peter too. Because if MJ liked the Norman, she would have talked to Norman a little bit more and try making a move on Norman if that was the case. So, or maybe she did hit on Norman, and Norman just turned her down. That she was at the point where she was like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna talk to Norman. Maybe I talk to Peter. So, for you being quiet, that's where you went wrong. You would have said something earlier and not waited for the grand moment, because it's never a perfect time to tell somebody that you have feelings for them, and never a perfect time to tell somebody you're going to end something with them. Never a perfect time to tell somebody that you're doing this. There's not a perfect time. Ever. So the moment you felt that moment and you thought about it and you was like, all right, I'm going to do it, you should have went for it. You shouldn't have waited, because waiting led to this. And I don't know where your friendship goes from there. You can forgive both of them, but remember, it's a friend group. Both of them did this. So both of them were your best friends, and both of them be like, hooking up with each other. Now, was it cool for him to laugh it off? No, but at the same time, you can't get upset. There's a window that you missed, that you ignored because you focus on school. And I completely understand that. I was that guy too. I focused on school a lot more than pursuing love interests in college. So I get that mindset, but to go off because you waited too long, that's your loss, man. Take that L, learning lesson, and move forward. Plus, your friend group. You're gonna ruin the friend group for a shock. Maybe what if MJ said she didn't like you and didn't want to be friends with you? So, yeah, no, you shouldn't went off on your friends for that. You shouldn't call them a bunch of words, because him and MJ, because MJ is also part of the friend group too. It's two friends, not one, two friends. Two. Am I the a-hole for asking my brother to leave a date early to pick me up from work? I, 16 female, currently live with my dad and older brother, male, 21. I've been working part-time to save up because it's my dream to go to college in another state. My dad doesn't really care what I do, but my brother was worried when I got the job because it requires me to take the bus by myself for 45 minutes. 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour, and we don't really live in a nice area. Kind of dangerous, not nice. I usually work afternoons, but I recently got called to close because it was late at night. My coworker was supposed to drive me home, but her daughter got sick and she had to clock out early. And I wasn't allowed to leave since it was just me on the floor. My shift ended at 10 p.m., so I ended up calling my brother, asked him to pick me up, which he did, no problem. After I got home, though, his girlfriend sent me a lot of angry text messages because I apparently interrupted their date. They were watching a movie at her place, and he left early to get me. I feel bad because they don't see each other a lot. My brother also works a lot to save money, but I knew that my brother would be upset if I took the bus alone, and it really wasn't super safe. There has been a lot of muggings in the area at night. She said that I could have asked my dad, which is true, but he's always really slow and forgetful. The last time I asked him to pick me up, he was 30 minutes late because he was at the bar with his friend. And I didn't want to stay at the bus stop. She made me feel like a princess, though. And she technically right that I could have just waited an extra time. My brother says it's not to listen to her, though, and it was his choice to come. I am really sad and confused now, so I really don't know if I was wrong. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. You called out to your brother. You asked for your brother's help. Your brother said, yes, I got you. Don't worry about little sister. Your brother knew he was on date. He got up and left to come pick his sister up, take her back home, and he went back to his girlfriend's place. For her to get upset, they're watching a movie, they wasn't out and about doing anything, they can pause the movie. We got streaming services now. Pause the movie. Maybe she go freshen up. You know, they're not ruining time. Do not feel bad for asking your brother to pick you up. If he was busy and couldn't pick you up, he wouldn't have said yes. So no, you're not the jerk in the situation. Your brother was on his date. He decided to leave to pick up his sister. That's perfectly fine. He actually did the right thing in that situation. You're okay. For the girlfriend to come at you, be upset, I wouldn't pay her no mind either, because, like, heck, the girlfriend could have came with him, could make the day probably, let's pick up my sister together, and then take her back home, and then we come back and finish the movie. So, yeah, no, do not feel bad about ruining that date. Just watching the movie. It wasn't a big enough date to feel like he said he couldn't come. Now, if it's at like a restaurant, or he's out for dinner, or he was like doing something where he doesn't do an activity where he couldn't get to you, that makes more sense. But even then, he's decided to pick you up at the end of the day. It is not your fault. 100%. Alright. Last one, and we call it a night. Am I the asshole for telling my friends why he can't get Tinder dates? So, I, female, 29, met up with several friends last weekend. We don't get to see each other often, but love to catch up a few times a year. Since 3 of these friends are somewhat newlyweds, we started talking about dating apps. One of these friends, Jake, male, 30, told us he cannot get a second date with any of the girls he goes out with, and he cannot for the life of him figure out why that is. Apparently, he gets plenty of matches and first dates, but never a second date. As he was telling us that he also pulled out his phone and showed us his Tinder profile to me it was immediately obvious why. Let's just say that his pictures do not reflect what he looks like now. His Tinder profile consists of about 5 pictures from about 5 to 7 years ago, and these pictures he looked much younger, much better, and even has abs. I don't want to be mean, but the corona lockdown and the whole situation really took a toll on Jake. He used to be really fit with thick long hair, overall conventional, attractive. Like I said, corona times have been really tough on him. He has laid off from his job. He lost his father after a long illness. And about a year ago, he also broke up with his girlfriend. He really let himself go physically, and maybe he didn't even let himself go. These are consequences of mental pressures he has been facing. He is now somewhat overweight. He shaved his head because he started losing his hair. He is an amazing person who has been through a lot, but seeing the pictures he has on Tinder and what he looks like now is borderline catfishing. I mean, it's him, but it's not. It's hard to even recognize him now from those photos. The girls he meet up with are probably somewhat shocked, I assume. They might feel tricked. I wouldn't want to see a person like that for a second date. I didn't say anything at first, but soon, I didn't say anything at first, but soon, all of our friends went out for a smoke, so it was only me and Jake left in the restaurant. I asked him if he considered updating his Tinder profile with more recent pictures. He told me no, he liked the photos he has up. I told him something like, well, you know, I'm sure you want your Tinder photos that reflect who you are. You should post nice and flattering pics, but you still want to be you. And from here it went downhill. He got super defensive, saying this is him. Am I saying it's not because he gained some weight? Meanwhile, our friends came back and Jake was raising his voice to me. He told our friends that I said he can't get dates because apparently I'm ugly now, which is not what I said at all. He threw some money on the table and left. He hasn't talked to me since and has been telling our friends that I called him ugly. I'm struggling to wrap my mind around what happened and why he blew up this way. And I'm starting to feel bad for having said anything. I know he has struggled over the past years, and I felt like crap that he believes I think he's ugly. Am I the a-hole for saying anything in the situation? No, you're not. He asked he asked why he couldn't get second dates. He asked for a question. He asked for an answer. You gave him an honest answer. You said the pictures he had up there were old pictures. He knew he had old pictures. Matter of fact, he knew that's one reason why he's not getting second dates. That's why he went off. He went super defensive. People usually, when the truth is there and somebody says something to somebody, they get defensive sometimes because they felt attacked. But the truth was there. The truth would make him upset. He knew the truth. He's not willing to face that fact that he's not the same person he was prior to the pandemic. And he has to accept that himself. But if he keep putting photos like this and girls meet him in person and then finally see that he's not the person that was the picture they was expecting, they're not going to continue going on dates for him until he gets comfortable with himself, comfortable with who he is, and update his photos to his most recent photos. Then he probably will stop having that issue of girls not meeting up for a second date, because like you said, you immediately know it right off the bat that, hey, the pictures you have here look different from what you currently are now. And when you see somebody in person that matches, because this has happened to me before on a couple of days where I met somebody in person, from looking at profile, I'm like, you don't look like who you are in your profile. Okay, but sit around and talk and get to know the person, but have everyone on a second date with somebody who didn't match their profile? No, I'm like, you couldn't be honest about what you currently look like right now. So how about take your honesty down the line with something else? So he knew he was in the wrong here. That's why he went off. And that's why because he feels like he's currently ugly. He feels like he's not attractive. And the dating apps give him validation. But at the same time, if you put current pictures up there, he still get that validation and still be able to meet, let's go for a second date with somebody. So no, you're not the butthole and the a-hole in the situation. Alright guys, that's enough for this episode of Nerdy Dating. If there's a question you want to send me, please put in the comment section below. Also, you can send it to alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. It's alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. And I'll answer on this episode of Nerdy Dating. Other than that, thank you guys for can't speak. Sorry. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Nerdy Dating, and keep being awesome. Thank you for watching this episode of Nerdy Dating. I really appreciate it. If there's another episode you want to watch, you can look at it right there. If you want to subscribe to the page and watch more content, it's down here. Also, you have a question about dating, you want to put it in the comment section, go ahead and do it. Or you can send me your dating question to my email of alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. That's alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. And I will answer your question on the next episode of Nerdy Dating. Thank you so much for watching the show. I appreciate you, and keep being awesome.